On this Shabbat, our people finds itself wading through the ebbing tides of memory. We still hear, if we listen closely, the resonant refrains of Dayenu and Chad Gadya sung around the Seder table just a few weeks prior, as we recalled our miraculous redemption from bondage in Egypt. We still feel the residual tears shed just over a week ago as we recalled the horrors suffered by our people during the Holocaust. And just earlier this week, we honored the memory of the tens of thousands of brave souls who have fallen in creating and defending the state of Israel these past 77 years. At all times, but especially in this moment, we are a people of memory, fulfilling our sacred obligation to zachor, remember, and lo tishkach, do not forget, that echoes across our tradition. To remember is a powerful and a sacred act, for it is through memory that we are able to transcend our own moment and place ourselves within something older and greater than our limited perspective. So it is with our memory in tow that we now mark the next chapter of our spiritual journey with a ritual of counting. Over the coming weeks, we will count not only the days leading up to the foot of Mount Sinai, where each year we accept Torah anew, but also the dreadful counting we have done for the past 19 months, the past 574 days since October 7th, 2023. On and off, the war rages on, and we count. Soldiers, defenders of the Jewish state, are called up from reserves again and again, and we count. And yet again, we count as we hear of our fallen and injured in headlines and obituaries. And thousands die, whether from collateral damage or starvation in Gaza. And still, we count. Within Jewish time, we count our days and count our steps on this road to Sinai, and we are able to look ahead and see our destination. In regular time, we continue to count and to move forward, but to where? What is our destination? When will our counting up turn to counting down? How close are we truly to that relief and joy we yearn for at the safe return of those held in captivity? To these questions and more, we seek answers within our inner circles, our community, within our hearts, and perhaps in our Jewish tradition. The path from Egypt to Sinai is one of the core journeys of our people, and its respective holidays, Passover and Shavuot, must be understood in relation to one another. Our tradition teaches that freedom without responsibility is incomplete, and that once we achieve power and self-determination, we must always remember what it is like to be powerless. In Passover and Shavuot, we find the distinction described by British political philosopher Isaiah Berlin as freedom from and freedom to. On Passover, we celebrate our freedom from bondage, but it is never simply freedom for freedom's sake. Rather, on Shavuot, we acknowledge that our freedom must lead us to a willing acceptance of responsibility, a sacred compact with rules and instructions that will lead us to building a better society. Indeed, it is a limitation of freedom that we willingly accept as individuals so that the collective may prosper. In this season of memory, we have recalled those moments of freedom from, both in our ancient and more recent history. our freedom from oppression, hatred, attempted extermination, and powerlessness. But our commitment to memory must not end there. We must continue to remember and remember again the call of freedom too in our history. We must remember that just as the freedom of Passover is not just for the sake of being free, so too is the remarkable resilience of our people to survive and resist is not just for survival's sake, but so that we may continue to heed the ancient call of our people to do better and to be better, and even to build a better world. We as a people were singled out to be like other nations, not to be like other nations of the world, but rather to be a light unto those nations, a kingdom of priests. The origin of this higher calling actually connects with one of those freedom from moments in our Passover Seder. Though perhaps often overlooked, the Haggadah ties our story of redemption all the way back to our spiritual roots in the story and figure of Abraham, who is freed from the bondage of false belief and brought into a new consciousness of the oneness of God. But again, Abraham's freedom from idolatry is only one half of the story. In Genesis chapter 18, when pondering whether or not to inform Abraham of the impending destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, God says, quote, "For I have singled him out that he may instruct his children and his household to keep the way of God by doing what is just and what is right." Just as the Israelites' redemption was not simply for the sake of being free, so too was Abraham's journey to connection with the one God, not simply for the sake of truer beliefs. He didn't do it just so that he could be right. Rather, it was a freedom given so that Abraham and his household might serve as a beacon, a moral exemplar for his time and for generations to come. Just a few verses later, we see the full realization of this sort of freedom, the freedom too. After hearing of God's plans to wipe out Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham offers a plea on behalf of people he had never met, issuing a clarion call that echoes through time, declaring and asking, pleading, "Will you sweep away the innocent along with the guilty? What if there should be 50 innocent within the city? Will you then wipe out the place and not forgive it for the sake of the innocent 50 who are there? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to bring death upon the innocent as well as the guilty. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly?" This is a call I feel we need to hear in this moment. For I fear that both in America and in Israel, we have lost our sense of freedom too. Our highest dreams and aspirations to be a nation unlike others. It is this call that should be our destination, the ultimate goal we journey towards, the end of our count. So many of us have felt the wrath we see from God in that moment in Genesis, ready to wipe out the guilty alongside the innocent, giving in to our pain and anger at our return to victimhood and powerlessness 19 months ago. Now, those who know their Torah might remind me of the end of this story of Sodom and Gomorrah, that even after Abraham's negotiations with God that those twin cities should be saved on account of even 10 righteous individuals, Sodom and Gomorrah are still destroyed. Implicit within the text is the conclusion that they could not find those 10, that the societal rot in Sodom and Gomorrah was too pervasive, and that all were guilty. So too, many have said, is the case in Gaza, that there too are no righteous, no innocents to be found. Those who assert such claims must maintain a willing blindness to the events of recent months, where the world watched as tens of thousands of Gazans took to the streets to protest and demand the end of Hamas's inhumane and destructive rule, only to be silenced through a campaign of terror and bloodshed. While the Sodom and Gomorrah of the Torah may not have been redeemable, it is clear that this is not the case in Gaza. There are also those who say that to acknowledge the pain and the suffering of the Gazan people is equivalent to a hatred of Israel and even a hatred of the Jewish people. We saw this ideology play out in recent events just this week within Israel as our sister Reform congregation, Beit Samueli, was violently attacked at the instigation of local politicians in the Likud party simply because they hosted an event that they have been holding annually for 20 years, where Israelis and Palestinians come together to acknowledge the pain and trauma caused by years of this conflict. For the simple act of daring to seek peace and understanding, the attendees were met with stones, eggs, slurs, and chants of "You are Nazis," and even worse, that I do not want to share from this bima. Both in Israel and in this country, there are those who would limit the bounds of our hearts, who view suffering as a zero-sum game where to acknowledge the pain of others is to dismiss our own and that of our people. Such people, I believe, have lost the freedom to, allowing themselves only to dwell in the freedom from, allowing the anger of what has been done to us to harden our hearts to the pain of others. My friends, we must regain our assertion of freedom too. We must hold tight not only to the memories of the atrocities done to us, but also the responsibility placed upon us as those who remember to build a world in which hatred of the other no longer shrouds us in darkness. We must not reflect the hatred of our enemies with our own. For we are a nation apart, meant for something greater, meant to do what is just and right. To remember that we were slaves in Egypt, to remember that we were strangers in a strange land, and that our redemption was not solely for the purpose of our freedom, but so that the evils we suffered are not repeated. We must remember that our hearts are big enough to carry the pain of others alongside our own, and that to do so is not only a privilege, but our sacred responsibility. I know, to do so is not an easy task. It calls upon us to strive for higher ideals, even if the world around us succumbs to the lower angels of human nature. But we can. May God grant us with the strength and courage to do so. And we say together, Amen.